I'm careful never to call myself an architect because I value too much the discipline of architecture, the schooling and tooling that goes into making architects architects. I've always had this belief that art and architecture were just two peas in a pod, that there are moments when great art requires that you imagine new things in space that require a certain amount of poetry in order to manifest them. Architecture does the same. I think that sometimes the differences are technical acuity necessary for one or the other, and then the limits of one's imagination. My name's Theaster Gates. I'm a visual artist from Chicago. The project Black Chapel was intended to be a way of celebrating the possibility of emotional experiences through music. For most of my adult life, I've been thinking about what it means to be sacred, or what it means for a space to be sacred. And I found when people get together and do things together, often something sacred could happen. When I was first approached by the Serpentine Gallery to consider the pavilion, I had been performing a lot with my ensemble, the Black Monks of Mississippi. Wherever we would go, we would try to create these conditions that made the audience or those watching prepared to experience something really cool. And that often required silence, kind of quiet time before the event happened. I thought, could I take the preconditions that the monks use when we're performing in other places and build those preconditions into Black Chapel? And what I needed was quite simple. Space that wasn't flamboyant, that in a way could disappear, but in disappearing it also felt grand, and I think the volume of this chapel is a big part of that, its height and its roundness. About 2.5 years ago, I had a residency with the Victoria and Albert Museum, which has continued. One of the primary interests that I had was looking at the bottle kilns of Stoke-on-Trent and thinking about the history of ceramic industry here in the UK. And those forms, they're so luscious, the forms that produce the wares. And I thought it would be really cool to, in London, pay homage to the kilns of Stoke-on-Trent in this space. The building is made essentially of a modular timber stained black, a plywood structure that's supported by structural wooden laminates, galvanized steel, also painted black. We have an opening on either side that slices the pavilion. In the middle, there's an oculus. The oculus is intentionally allowing light in and nature in, creating a relationship between the things that happen on Earth and the things that happen above the Earth. In homage to my father and our time together, when I was a young person working together, he was a roofer, I thought that I would attempt to make a series of works that could both punctuate the space and also acknowledge the fact that my interest in architecture is very much that of a builder and a person who works with his hands. And I think my interest in art is from the perspective of a builder. So my things tend to be really heavy and a little bit chunky. These 7 paintings are a kind of salute or memorial to the history of labor and the ways in which labor is a beautiful spiritual way of transmitting energy. I decided, as a way of completing the idea of the chapel, that I should use this bronze bell from a church called St. Lawrence in Chicago that was demolished. It was down the street from my studio, and St. Lawrence has become like a very important reminder within my practice of the loss of spiritual spaces, but also the salvaging or the salvation or kind of the capturing of things that are lost as a result of cities changing. Black Chapel has unified for me parts of my practice that have seemed disparate. When you build the right vessel. It unifies that interest in ceramics, the spiritual, the built environment.